Doing Time with Deputy Mike.
Hi, welcome back to Doing Time with Deputy Mike. I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be talking about Just Drive. So let's go move on and meet our guest. Grab your feet and take a seat. It's roll call time. Go ahead and start with you, Lily.
All right. I am Lily Ramos. I'm a senior here at TCTC, and I'm also one of TCTC's SMASH representatives. SMASH is Students Making a Safer Highway.
I'm Tracie Shockey. I'm also a senior here at TCTC, and I'm the other SMASH representative.
That leaves me. I'm Bill Barna, and I'm the host of Safety 365 podcast and the owner of Bolo Stick, LLC.
Well, welcome, everybody. So let's go ahead and move on to interrogation time.
Interrogation time.
So, Lily, go ahead and start us off.
All right. So we're doing a campaign here at TCTC called Just Drive, and we've been rolling out stuff on social media, and we have our big school-wide event tomorrow, starting the morning off with a game show and then going into a school-wide lab where students are going to come up from all their programs and kind of learn a little bit more about distracted driving and what to do about it.
And we're going to focus a lot on putting their phone down and just not driving distracted, not playing games, watching Netflix or any of that, switching the radio while you're driving, and also mention about the 4 categories of distracted driving. The visual where like your eyes are off the road, looking at the animals and stuff on the side. Manual when your hands are off the wheel, like if they're reaching for something, or playing with their phone or something. Cognitive, I can never say that. Or like your mind is off of driving, or you're thinking about different things.
That's if you're in like an emotional state, it's not good to be behind the wheel. If your thoughts are clouded, you're thinking about other things, you're not thinking about the road in front of you.
But that's like every day. I mean, we've all got stuff that's going on.
Well, yeah, but it's like, I feel like that's more focusing on like extreme like mental stress. Like if you just found out your boyfriend is cheating on you, you should not immediately hop in a car.
Right, yeah, that's common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, common sense sometimes not so common. Right?
Yeah.
And like Bill said, I mean, every day you've got something on your mind. Something that may be bothering you. Oh, I didn't pay these bills.
Yeah.
They're going to shut off my electric.
I woke up late, you know, the dog puked on the carpet. I don't know, whatever.
Late
There's
to
always
school,
something.
late to work.
Yeah, you're always going to have stressors in your life.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it's how you deal with them. I think maybe that's something we could talk about.
Yeah.
It's how do we minimize the stressors and make them not so big in our minds, you know, so that we don't lose our perception when we're driving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the 4th one is auditory, when your ears are like not as alert as they should be. Like if you have music blasting and you can't hear like the cop car or something coming at you or something like that. Which
is a good point, and I forgot the ROC for this one, but earphones.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
45. I was looking at it too today.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, so, you know, for all you that don't know, driving in a vehicle with headphones on, iPod, whatever, is illegal because you can't hear what's going on, and especially if an emergency vehicle is coming up behind you and you're just cruising down the road.
I actually wrote that once when I was in law enforcement. I did. I actually did that. I had headphones like these. Like, there's no way I'm going to watch you drive down the road with these things on and not stop you. So, yeah.
You know, I've never actually came across anybody while I was patrolling, but yesterday, actually, while I was in my own car, cruising down the road.
That's when you see everybody.
Yeah, I look over and there's a dude with these red, like,
Right. The beats, isn't that what the beats?
Yeah,
are?
that's pretty much what they most likely were.
Yeah, you wonder why somebody even want to wear those in your car. I mean, if your radio's not working, honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you should be doing something else. Get a better car.
Yeah. Yeah. The visual, sometimes, well, you know, when you're tired, you don't want to stare at the road because then you go start tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Right.
So
right.
you got to kind of like glance around. But there's the other problem when you're driving and you're tired.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yeah. I mean, fatigue driving is the same as drunk driving.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
has the same effects.
it's sometimes for us, I mean, you're out there for hours working.
How many doubles do you work in your shift? You know, in your career. You know, you look at it, and what's neat, and I don't think they teach this in drivers training, but as police officers, you know, we were always taught you don't just look ahead at the road. You're scanning. It's a 180-degree scan every time you're driving. Like when I drive someplace with my wife, I'll see things. I'm like, oh, look at that deer over there. Look at this. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, it's not in front of us. You have to look that way.
Yeah.
But it's more your defensive driving tactics
Yeah.
that you're using. But, I mean, that's a skill, and you have to practice that and practice that and practice that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to go along with your visual, yeah, I think that's important. That'll definitely keep people
And
safe.
truthfully, if you stop doing that, you start losing that skill. That's like when you're running radar, and pretty much kind of you got to estimate speed without the radar. And I was to the point. I mean, we all were. I mean, I know exactly. It's like that car's doing 72. Oh yeah, it's 72.
Yeah, you can get it with plus or minus 2 or 3 miles
Miles an
an hour.
hour,
You're pretty
yeah,
close to just
yeah.
visualizing it.
Now it's like I haven't done it really. I mean, I don't really work the road because I'm in here. I haven't worked the road for quite a while.
Pretty cush job.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
You do a great job, man. It's a very important service too. So kudos to you.
But yeah, I mean, you lose track with that. When I was working the road, it was funny. Judge Campbell started. He'd lean over, and I'd like burst out an ORC, whatever. I mean, because you know
You
them
knew
all.
it. You rattled them
Like,
off. Right. Right.
Because he was learning them. And now, if you did that to me, I'd be like, well.
But you know, things are so different. You know, you
Yeah,
talk about the distracted
changes.
driving. Now, I mean, when I was your age and sitting in your seats, you know, in high school, we didn't really learn about distracted driving. That was
No.
not a thing. Why is that? What changed? Let me ask these younger people here. What changed? Why is distracted driving a big thing now, and it wasn't when I was a kid?
I think it's mainly phones.
Yeah, it's
Because that
phones.
is like the number one thing. You can be texting, changing music on your phone. You can be calling, like going on Instagram. I don't understand how people are like driving and being on their social media, but people do it because
I was behind somebody watching a video.
yeah,
I was gonna say, people
I don't
watch
understand. Like
Netflix.
on
Yeah.
like long drives, people will, like put on a movie, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And it's crazy because at our SMASH meetings, we go to these meetings once a month, and there's representatives from like almost every school in Trumbull County, and like people admit to it because it's
How
like it's
important
like a safe
is that
space,
video?
but it's like
Yeah, how important is that video?
yeah.
That you've got to be watching it while you're driving down the roadway. Like, oh, I can't miss this episode. Save it for when you get home.
Yeah.
You know, really enjoy it before you kill
Well, it's
somebody.
like, I watch Outer Banks, and when that new season came out, it came out on a Thursday, and I was behind people going to my youth group that had it on.
Right.
I watched it when I got to
And it
youth
wasn't
group.
even that good.
It actually was
just
really
gonna say-
good, but
No, that third season is terrible.
it wasn't. It was not the best season, but it was still
Anyway.
good.
I'll be truthful. I haven't made it through episode 1. I started it, and I don't know, came back to it,
Season 1
started
and
it
2 were
over
good.
again.
Yeah.
I just,
But anyways, I digress. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's true. I mean, growing up, we didn't have any of this. I mean,
How often did you say when you were a kid? How often did you say to yourself, "Man, am I bored?" Hardly ever. We always found something to do.
yeah, we weren't bored.
But I think, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to kind of monopolize this, but here's my 3 cents of safety advice. I think what has happened is we have created such a state of needing to be entertained, needing to be fed this information, you know, whether it's colors or sounds or whatever, that it's become an addiction, and they can't do anything without it. I mean, most people, when you roll out of bed, not me, I really don't care too much about my phone other than for business, but most people roll out of bed, first thing they do is pick up their phone. Who messaged me? What's going on Facebook? What's my emails? Honestly, is it that important?
You know what? Like my phone's turned off. It's charging like in the kitchen, or I might be charging in the living room. And actually, it's one of the last things I do before I go.
Yeah.
I turn it on.
And we're the worst texters ever, probably. You know,
Oh.
people text us, they're like, dude, I texted you like 3 hours ago. I'm like, I know, my phone's in the car. I'm in here. It's just the way it is.
I hate texting. It drives me crazy. You want to talk to me, talk to me.
But I think the surge of the electronics is really okay. I can talk about attention deficit. I think we all have a degree of attention deficit. That's just normal life.
Yeah.
But attention deficit really didn't get diagnosed by psychiatrists until like 1987, where they really started pushing ADD, ADHD. And I think when you look back, over 6 million people in America are diagnosed with some sort of ADHD. And the majority of those are aged between 12 and 17. Okay, what happened 12 and 17? What happened that many years ago?
I ask myself, it's like, how can all these kids, I mean, it's crazy because it's like, I think about us. It's like, well, we all have our moments, but.
Sure, yeah, we're all human.
You know, I didn't know anybody on pills because they just can't pay attention.
Right.
If I didn't want to pay attention,
Well, we didn't
because
have
I
that.
zoned you out.
Yeah, we didn't really have that. But
No.
getting back to my point, you know, they're saying, you know, the majority of the people are 12 to 17 years of age that are diagnosed with ADHD.
Yep.
Okay, if you go back 12 to 17 years, what time frame is that putting us in? 2006-ish? In 2000, the biggest thing on the market was Xbox, PlayStation, and GameCube.
Yeah.
It's what we're feeding into these kids. I'm sorry, I call you guys kids, but it's what we're feeding into the younger generation, that they have to be stimulated all the time. And I think that's a leading factor going into the driving aspect. I mean, bringing it back to where we're supposed to be. But I think when they get in a car and they're just driving, they're bored. And the wheels are turning. They got to have something else to stimulate. And I don't know, maybe that's an avenue for another podcast, but I think there's something to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's like a lot of jokes where it's like elevating to a level where like people need to have like multiple screens.
Yeah.
Like a friend of mine like posted something where she had like 2 TVs on, her phone, an iPad, and like music playing. And I'm like, how?
I can't multitask
How,
that much.
how do you even
And then like
listen to
that
any
makes
of
me
that?
think about like how does that translate when you're like driving somewhere for a long time?
Yeah.
Because like if that's like what you do to be able to sit in a room, how are you behind the wheel?
Yeah, do you need that much stimulation just to
Yeah.
keep you on a normal keel? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole different branch of the tree. I don't know.
You know, truthfully, though, growing up, I think we were behind the wheel more than they were. Because if I wanted to see my friend, I had to go see my friend.
Right. You're absolutely right.
And, you know, the crazy thing was, like, and I'll use this area. So if you lived, say, in Vienna, and you lived north of 82, but you wanted to call your buddy south of 82, it was long distance.
Right.
So
Same
your
here.
parents were like, you better not be long distance. That costs me too much
If you
money.
lived in the 856 area,
Yeah.
856 prefix, and you wanted to call 544 in Niles, it was long distance.
Distance, yeah.
So
Wow.
when I was in school and I was dating a girl and we wanted to talk after school, I'd say, I'll call or let it ring twice, and you know it's me, and you call me back. Because it wasn't long distance for her to call me back. Because if I got a long distance call, my dad was taking the belt out.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It was like, what?
It's a different generation.
So, yeah, it was. So, yeah, I mean, you either
You
had
had
to
to
do
drive.
something like that or
Yeah.
you had to drive. And, I mean,
We had no other form of contact. It was all we had was a landline on the kitchen wall. You know, that was it, and that's how you made communication
Yeah.
with people. Otherwise, you didn't see them for the whole summer.
Yep.
So
and, you know, when I was actually 16, I lived in Zanesville. Well, my family was up here. So, like, almost every weekend, I would drive myself and that back then it was 3 hours because it was 55.
oh yeah, it's a good haul.
Yeah. But I would drive almost every weekend from down there to up here, especially in the summertime. Back and forth. But 16 years old, I don't think I'd let my kid now.
No,
16,
no.
yeah, I'm going to, no, you're not.
So what do we do to make it safer for the younger generation to drive, to get away from the distracted driving? How do we remedy this? You guys are the experts, so I'm going to go to you.
We need to like make them aware of what they're actually doing, because to them that's just like an everyday thing that they're doing. They don't think it's a big deal when it is. And I feel like people our age get into this mindset when they hear about like texting and driving crashes and they see the statistics. They're like, oh, well, that's not gonna happen to me, like I'm different. No, you're not. You're not. And you just have to we have to get them to understand that. And I feel like it kind of sticks a lot more when it's coming from the people their own age.
Your peers. Sure,
Yeah.
yeah, because old people are always going to tell you stuff like
Yeah.
that. I mean, that's the whole thing. Old people are going to tell you stuff you shouldn't do. That's not good for you. Don't do it. Well, you know full well we did it. But so yeah, I think learning from your peers is more important. So you got to put the pressure on them.
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing? How you putting the pressure on them?
So
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
like I'm
I'm
running.
not-
I
you
feel like
go
I'm
ahead,
running the
Tracie.
show here.
Like I started calling my friends out, and like so that's what I started doing even before I became the SMASH representative, because I'm a team leader for car teams through 4-H. It's where like if like people get tickets for something, they have to come to car teams for an hour, not for an hour, for like a few hours. And so I'm the
Oh,
team.
that's through the court.
Yeah, it's through the core and it's through 4-H too. So I'm a part of that.
That's a
I
great
didn't
program.
even know that existed. Yeah.
So, but like we're doing like the game show and the lab and stuff to bring just awareness to them. So it's like you're not as invincible as you think you are. Even if you're not the one at fault, it can still happen. So it's like just kind of like bringing it to their awareness and just helping people see. Like we did a live stream before Christmas break about like safe winter driving and stuff. So when they
great.
when they hear it from us, it's like, okay, so maybe if they're telling us to do it, it's not just the adults telling us. We actually should pay attention.
Because it means more coming from people that they're
Yeah.
your age. I just
Especially,
Yeah,
it really only takes one person in a car with distracted like drivers to be like, guys, we need to like cut this out, and then they'll
Yeah.
listen. If you respect your friends, you should listen to them.
Yeah.
See, that's like we tell you. Now, I haven't been here, so I mean, as long as Deputy DeLuga. In my time period, we have not had a serious accident. But they used to average, like, what did he say, about every 2 years. And reason being, all right, so say you guys are juniors, there's a bad accident, and you guys see it. Like, they actually have light flighted some kids out of here. That's how bad, because everybody wants to come up here, go 100 miles an hour out of
Right.
here. They want to pass, and it's dangerous, and that's where they crash. And we're not telling you because we don't want you doing it. We're telling you because we've seen it. But the thing is, like, all right, so you guys seen it, and of course the seniors seen it, and then they leave, but it's still in your mind. So you got the new kids that come. Well, you tell them about it, but they don't understand it because they didn't see how bad it was. So you guys get it because it's like, oh my God, I saw the whole thing, blood, everything. So, but then you move on. So you now have a new group that has not seen it. So then, boom, there's the other one. And it was like a cycle. Luckily, that cycle has kind of stopped.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they understand reaction time and stopping distances and stuff like that. I mean, you think, oh, if I put on the brake, I'm good, done. Yeah, it doesn't work like
No.
that.
No.
No, and in fact, that's most of our accidents here because we're looking down. In fact, that is the biggest thing. Well, I was looking. I mean, one kid. Well, I was looking over here at the field,
Yeah, I saw a deer. Yeah, I saw a deer.
and I'm like, but then she stopped. Well, that's because everybody stopped in front of her. What was you looking at? Well, the trees.
Wasn't my fault.
It's like, dude, why don't you look what's in front of you?
Well, and that's one of the things you have to realize, that action will always beat reaction.
Yeah.
You know, when I was teaching, even in the police academy in defensive tactics, the guy throwing the punch is always going to have the upper hand because you have to react to what he's doing, and there's that time gap. So it's the same thing when you're driving a car. You have to be double the amount of distance you thought you should be, so you have the time to react, so you can avoid the crash. These are things that need to be taught. I think not just taught and forgot.
Yeah.
Not just memorize it for the test or for this week because we're focusing on distracted driving, but reinforced throughout the year, and that's a tough job for you guys because a lot of kids just don't want to hear from you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just where we're at in society too. You can't tell me anything. I know it all. I'm as smart as I'm ever going to be, right?
You know,
Yeah.
talking about this, like you could call me old-fashioned here, but I
You're
don't know-
old-fashioned, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I don't know who listens to Sirius XM, but I listen to like the old. I like
70s on 7.
No, I like the stories, the old. I forget what it's called, classics, whatever. But they have everything from like all the old radio shows.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's kind of cool because they literally throw in old commercials from that time period. And I think about this all the time, especially with the media now. But listening to back then, they would talk about road rage. You shouldn't road rage. You shouldn't do. But it was constantly something that, like, they were putting over, and people were listening to this and listening to this. And I'm thinking, man. And then I'm thinking about how we drive now. And it's like, they really need to put that back on the radio.
Yeah.
It's just it's that
Yeah,
that's,
because-
what do they call that subconscious?
It's subconscious.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It-
they kind of put that out there and just kind of feed it into you, so you're hearing it, but you're not really hearing it, or you're not really hearing it,
Yeah.
but you are hearing
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So.
And, you know, of course, I realize it. I pick it up because it's what we do.
Right, we listen to
And,
everything.
yeah, and then you're thinking about, wow, if only they would do this now, we wouldn't have all this road rage. And maybe then we wouldn't have all these people being shot. Or, you know, it's funny because you go back through the years and see how things might have been to what they are now, and you're kind of wondering, like,
That's a good point. You're talking. I mean, you really need to be able to reinforce what we're saying. You know, yeah, don't drive distracted. Don't drive distracted. Don't drive. Well, how do we reinforce that? What do we do? You know, do you buy some radio ads and keep putting it out there? An acquaintance of mine just today, as a matter of fact, on the way over, I'm talking to him, and he said his daughter is also in high school, and she created a thing called Safe Chain. And it's a keychain, and it basically says, you put it right on your keys, and it says, text me when you get home. So it's constant visual
we're
reinforcement.
always looking at it.
You know, save the text for when you get home. Text me when you get home, not on your way.
Yeah.
I think things like that, little things, whether it
Yeah.
be bumper stickers or whatever you're throwing out there, but a key fobs, it's a great idea. I mean,
Well, right now we're going to cut away, and we're going to hear Allison from Impact Teen Driver, and hear what she has to say.
Hey everyone, this is Allison Sorsher with Impact Teen Drivers, and thanks to TCTC for asking Impact Teen Drivers to participate in their podcast for their Just Drive campaign. So when we think about Just Drive, that's exactly what we mean. Reckless and distracted driving crashes are 100% preventable. It's up to all of us to put the distractions away and just drive. Distractions go way beyond phone use. There are 4 primary categories of distractions. Those are visual, manual, cognitive, and auditory. Visual distractions take your eyes off the road. Manual distractions take your hands off the wheel. Cognitive distractions take your mind off the task of driving. And auditory distractions make your ears less alert to their surroundings. A phone can definitely be all of those types of distractions, but so can a lot of other things like having rowdy passengers, trying to change the GPS, or trying to eat or drink your coffee behind the wheel. I encourage everyone listening to get creative, think outside the box. How are you going to stop distractions in your life and just drive?
Hi, I'm Ed, and haven't you heard Do Not Disturb? There are 4 types of distracted driving: visual, manual, cognitive, and auditory. To keep yourself and others safe, keep your eyes on the road and your hands on the steering wheel. Always have a clear mind while driving, and finally, make sure you don't have any auditory distractions.
Yeah, do not disturb. If you want to get home, tap the little moon on your phone.
Hey everyone.
Okay, back to what we were talking about. I mean, I think that's something that they might. I mean, they should go back to that. I mean, because we hear from superstars, NFL players, blah blah blah, all the
Right.
time preaching their stories. Well, how about we start talking about distracted driving? And because of course, when your superstar gets on there, you guys listen.
Yeah.
Your favorite actor gets on there, you listen. And that's exactly what they did back then. back then it was just actors. I mean, NFL football wasn't huge, and all that wasn't huge. So, but you did have your movie stars, and they would give those
Celebrity status
Yeah.
sells everything.
things.
Yeah.
You get a celebrity, and they'll get a message across. I mean, the crying out loud, back in the what was it, 70s maybe, 60s and 70s, they had celebrities advertising cigarettes. You know, you got to smoke this brand of cigarette, and everybody started smoking that brand of cigarette because it was cool. That's what that guy was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, celebrities do push things like that.
Yep, and that's right. Everybody smoked, and drink. Nothing like seeing your favorite person pop in a cold one and chugging it down, and now you don't see that. But,
Right.
But those are different times too. But
So I just want to find out what Lily and Tracie are going to do.
yeah.
What's next? What are you going to do?
Well, it's like I noticed a lot of people don't watch our live stream show at school because when we do like Schedule B's, they push it a lot more, and that's when we did our live stream on with a Schedule B. But like we did one that aired last week of advertising our lab, and half my friends were like, "Wait, you guys were on TCTC time?" So it's like just kind of like at least with the lab, it brings people down, and like we'll have basket raffles too. So as they participate in the activities of like putting your phone down, where don't brush your hair and drive, and all of those different ones, they'll get a ticket to enter into the basket raffle. So it makes them want to do it more. And then we're hoping that they'll remember what we taught them down in the
That's
lab
great.
when they get behind the wheel.
Yeah, so it's really important for us to get like that community involvement going around to like local businesses, and honestly all of our donations and sponsors were like really excited to give us stuff once they like heard what it was about.
Well, it's a great cause.
Yeah.
I mean, you're saving lives
Yeah.
by what you're doing. If you save one, you've done a great job. If you save more than that, well, that's just fantastic.
Yeah.
But you got to create the awareness, and the kids need to know this stuff. You're not immortal.
No.
You can't. You're not like on TV or on your video games. You don't get to get a second life.
There's no second chance.
You do it right the first time, or you're done. And I can only say that because I'm 58, and I get to look back on it, and I look at the stupid things I did, and I probably should have been a statistic on distracted driving at one point somewhere down the line. But by God's grace, here I am. And so we need to get it that to other people.
Yeah.
So I want to see you guys at 58. Well, maybe I don't know if I'll be around then, but still, but maybe I am. I don't know. We'll be on a podcast together. We just have to talk louder.
Growing up, I lost 3 friends. I lost 2 down in Zanesville, and of course alcohol was involved in that one. And I lost 1 friend who was with, but I wasn't friends with the other people. But and that one, of course, also was involved alcohol and other things, drugs. But I mean that's a good point when you start talking about DUI and drunk driving and this and that. I mean, and like you said, at young age you think you're indestructible, but then you're not. And
it only takes a second.
Only a second.
To take your eyes off the road. And I mean,
bad decision.
We both work the road. How many, ACD accidents, assured clear distance. A person in front of you, just because you look down and grab something, you're grabbing a French fry off the seat or whatever you're doing.
Eating.
Yeah.
I mean, who has? I do it. You go through McDonald's. You're going down the road. And
We're a fast-paced society.
yeah,
Everybody's
yeah.
eating that way.
Unwrapping that cheeseburger or whatever it is, and reaching down for your pop, and bam.
Didn't see that happen.
Didn't see that one coming.
With that, there was a time I went to our SMASH meeting, and then I had to go film a video a half hour away. So on my way back to bring the camera back to school, because I was leaving the next morning for Florida, I stopped and got McDonald's on the way home.
Right.
Because I missed lunch here, so I'm like eating real quick while trying.
While you're driving, yeah.
And I luckily I was smart enough to unwrap the sandwich at a stoplight, so that I wasn't doing it while trying to go down the road.
And I think we all do that. We're just a fast-paced society.
Yeah.
We're going to do things like that, but we need to be cognizant of the fact that we shouldn't be doing it. And once we get that out there more, maybe you're going to pick up that hamburger or whatever and go, yeah, it can wait. It can wait. I need to pay attention to what's going on.
And one of the biggest jokes is the people, like, I'll be sitting next to you in a cruiser, texting, whatever, and, you just look over like, are you really that stupid?
Right.
Are you that stupid? In fact, you know what? I ran into a lady that was that stupid on the road. We're going down the road, I look over, and there she is, texting away. The light turns green. Of course, we start going. I'm watching her in the mirror. She's still sitting at the light, holding everybody up. We get up
on
to
her phone.
Oh yeah. So we get up to the next light where the on ramp and off ramp is, and there's the the Cadillac or whatever. I don't know, car dealership right there.
On Elm Road there?
On Elm Road.
Yeah. Used to be
Going
quite
in,
cold,
heading
but
north.
Yeah.
Look over, and she's still texting away. Light turns green. We're moving, and I'm watching her in my mirror. She's still sitting back there. Now we're at the light. This happened at every light. So now we're sitting there at Walmart.
She's probably thinking, what the heck is this deputy doing? He hasn't stopped me yet.
I don't think she even knew I was next to her. And I'm just like staring at her. I'm like, now I'm kind of like, all right, I've had it. So, sure enough, light turns green. No one's moving. I'm waiting for her to move. So as soon as she moved, Elm came to overhead.
There you go.
She goes, what are you talking about? I was at the stoplight. I said, no, you was.
I had 3 stoplights.
Yeah, I said, you're holding up traffic. You're a traffic hazard. I said, everybody else is moving. You're still sitting there texting on your phone. Oh, well, I was at a light. I said, what part of you're behind a wheel? You're operating a motor vehicle. Don't you understand? She didn't. She couldn't grasp it.
Well, how many times? This is just an old person thing. But how many times you've been driving to a different city or whatever? You got your music going, and you're coming up to where it's getting congested, and you turn down the radio so you can see the road better.
Everything's
Oh, I do
stopped.
that.
I do that.
As soon as anything gets like the tiniest bit stressful and traffic picks up, I'm like, okay.
And why do you do that? You know instinctively to do that because it tunes your attention.
Yes,
Yeah.
because
I'm taking one thing out of the equation, and
Yeah.
I can focus more.
that's taking my auditory distraction away.
There you
Yeah.
go.
There you
See?
go.
See how we pick up on these things
Yeah,
right away? Yeah. That's great. No, but that's true. We do it all the time. We don't think about why we're doing it, but it's us focusing our attention in a certain area.
Yep.
That's good.
I feel like we do it a lot in like more residential areas and like parking and stuff.
Yeah.
As if like turning the radio down is gonna help me see a better parking spot.
Well, it's good in residential because you don't know when some little kid's going to come running out in front of you.
Yeah.
And
So-
you should be able to hear
Yes.
what's going on.
What's
yeah.
going on?
Well, it's like I grew up in Warren. If you guys know like where Cockeyes is, I lived a few
Yeah.
streets over from where Cockeyes is. And there was an accident, I think when I was littler, of someone ran out in front of the car, but the car wasn't paying attention and like almost hit him. Luckily they did stop in time, so it wasn't like an actual accident. But ever since then, it's just something that's always on my mind. Like I don't want to be that car that almost hits the kid because they had their music too loud.
Yeah, and nobody wants to go out there and do those kind of
Yeah.
things. But you have to understand there are ramifications for those accidents that do happen because you weren't paying attention. And then you've got to live with that the rest of your life. I mean, not just emotionally, but even financially. I mean, that's going to follow you.
Yeah.
Your insurance rates, if you run into somebody else or hit somebody, that's going to follow you all the way down. So you got to think smart and be on your A game when you're driving for sure.
Yeah, because you could actually find yourself doing some time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? That's not good time.
That's not good time.
It's not good time at all. Here's just something that maybe you guys would want to do with your stuff. Maybe get on a radio commercial, like put it together, or in the TV, like do a little TV commercial, and like have it aired.
I feel like the only thing with radio commercials is like teenagers nowadays
They
do
don't
like
listen.
the
Yeah.
Bluetooth
Yeah,
and they play their own
you don't
music
even
their
have-
own
yeah,
and they
music.
don't
Yeah.
listen to the radio.
This is
Yeah,
true.
I'm guilty
I mean,
of that.
See, there again, this is a fact because
So I feel like maybe going through like streaming services,
Spotify
and finding out
and all
because
that.
Spotify, if you don't pay for the premium, they do ads.
this is
And-
Yeah,
That's-
I don't pay
that's
for
true.
premium, so I have to listen to the ads all the
Yeah.
time.
I'm cheap too. I don't pay for it.
I don't either. But you know, and there's another good point how things have changed. I mean, versus us growing up to where you guys are at, and yeah, so you would have to find other avenues to
Yeah.
get your message out.
What about the car manufacturers? If it's that big an issue, why aren't our phones cut off when we're in the car? You know, I'm sure there's apps out there, and I'm sure some manufacturers probably have something that you can do. But I always thought, or the cell phone providers, listen, when you get in your car, you can't receive any messages.
Well, Apple does driving mode, where if you set it, every time you're in a car, like it doesn't even when I'm driving with my parents, I have to take it out. But anytime I'm in my car driving, it puts it into driving mode. So my music will still play, but I'm not allowed to go in and change my music.
Yeah.
And when people text me, it will send them a notification saying
But-
I'm driving with focus
Yeah.
on.
But
I'll
that's-
respond to
I
you.
have
That's
that too.
That's putting it on you. That's requiring you to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I think it should be automatic.
Automatic.
Like, you know, when you get in the car, it's automatically set to driving mode unless you undo it.
Yeah, and it does take a step to undo it. Like,
Yeah.
it blocks your camera. So normally, if you have an iPhone, you can just immediately go to the camera from your home screen. It blocks that, and if you want to turn it off, you have to like swipe up and hit. I'm not driving. So if you do turn that off while you are still driving, it at least makes you like think about it.
Yeah.
This is again the generational gap because I don't know all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I-
like,
I mean, I just think that if I've got a teen driver, I would want that installed in my car somehow, so the car would recognize it, and no matter what you did, you couldn't receive messages.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything on that phone until you got to where you're going. Sorry, you're gonna listen to AM, FM. Select a station and be happy with it.
bring back CDs.
Yeah. I
Or-
actually have
or
CDs
8
in my
tracks.
car.
Yeah.
Or 8 tracks.
I actually have CDs on my wish list because my Apple Music wasn't working at first, but then I figured it out. So I was asking for CDs for Christmas, and my aunt goes, "Are you sure you're turning 18 in March? Because you're asking for CDs."
So that again, the generational thing. See, I'm talking going back to 8 tracks. She thinks going back to CDs is a step backwards.
Yeah. And 8 tracks are really backwards.
I know.
You couldn't fast forward them.
No.
It was there was nothing you could do. You had to wait for the songs to play through.
And they were big and bulky.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
literally, like that thick, that
Yeah,
long.
yeah, probably about that big.
They're like
yeah.
I think,
plugging it in.
I think my dad showed me some of them because I was like messing with him, and he goes, "I actually still have these."
They're probably worth millions. Yeah, yeah.
But that also brings us to our new distraction law, which is 4511.204. And not to get into all of the details, but basically the gist of it is if you're operating a motor vehicle, you cannot have your phone, you cannot touch your phone. You can't swipe your phone. That phone can't touch your body. If it touches your body, you're in violation of the law. Now you can have the hands free through the vehicle, but again, reading through it, if you have to swipe up or hit something to turn it on and off, or you're in violation.
And that used to be a secondary offense
Yep,
for the
it
longest
was.
time. So basically, the officers had to find you doing something else wrong, and then they could cite you for using your phone.
Like holding up traffic.
Right. Obstruction of traffic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I think that's a great thing they've done because that's going to reduce a lot. I mean, you can't drive down the street and not see somebody on their phone in the car.
Yeah.
Right.
That should cut down a lot of accidents.
Well, we actually have to start wrapping things up, so let's move on to things to know, which I don't think we have a jingle for that. So I do have one.
Anybody want to hop
Yeah,
on?
one thing to know is next Thursday, 5 o'clock to 9, or 5:30 to 9, is our last game night with the deputies for this year. So if you want to come out to game night, play some games, come on out. You guys got anything? Well, yeah.
Well,
you got all
tomorrow.
this.
Tomorrow.
8 a.m. is the Family Feud style game show called Do Not Disturb.
And then following that at 8:30 is our lab downstairs. So
Spanning the entire day all the way to 1:30. Different activities, different distracted driving, games to kind of get you more aware, and the raffle prizes. We have gifts from Starbucks, Sheets,
Main Street Coffee, Just
Oaxaca Taco.
Pizzo's, all over.
all over Trumbull.
Gonna have coffee. All right, I might be there.
There you go. Well, do you got anything that,
Thanks.
nothing?
Nah, I've really got nothing else to add. Just kind of, reinforce it with your peers. I think whatever you can do to get the word across that they need to pay more attention because life is short. I know at your age it doesn't seem like it, but life is really too short. And I'm just happy to have made it this long to be able to look back and say, man, I value the fact that I had the opportunity to grow this old. A lot of people don't get that chance. And so for you kids, take an extra second, do what
it's-
you need to do.
This is true because growing up, you think, well, I'm invincible. Or it's a thing, well, I don't care if I die at 30, whatever. Wait till you get to 30. You're like, oh man, I hope I hang on here till 40.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, then when you keep going up that ladder, it's like, when's my time running out?
We're just, yeah,
Yeah.
I always say that. I tell people, at this stage, 2/3 of my sand is out of the hourglass, so I'm enjoying every grain right now.
It's true. I mean,
So
life is short. So.
Life is short, and I think you got to get that point across to kids. You're not invincible, and silly decisions could have bad consequences. So, but yeah, get the word out there. You guys, I definitely applaud you both for taking a stance and making this happen. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, before we go, you guys want to do shout-outs? Like shout-outs to anybody?
I'll shout out our whole senior lab for coming together on this and making Tracie and I's jobs a little bit easier and
A lot easier.
splitting this work and taking on this task. I'm really proud of everybody, and I'm going to be so sad at graduation. And this is kind of like a nice little hurrah before, like, our trip to nationals and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, a couple of weeks, boom, you're out.
Yeah, less
crazy.
than,
That's what it
less
is.
than
I
2
mean,
weeks.
This year just
For
started. It
nationals.
seems
Yeah,
like.
I know.
Yeah.
I was Ashley and Noel and Trooper Miguel and all of them from SMASH, our leaders, because they actually have really pushed me and Lily throughout this year to come up with big events and stuff. So, and they just pushed me and actually got me into SMASH. So just kind of shout them out for pushing me and always supporting me.
That's
You
awesome.
got a shout-out to
Yeah, I
somebody?
got a shout out to my wife just for putting up with me for 30 years that we've been together. She's done a lot, and I wouldn't be where I'm at without her. So that's my shout out.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next time, everybody, take care and hit those like buttons.
That's right.